maybe that's the problem. I mean, there's an excellent book actually by a Middle Eastern author, Tawfiq al-Hakim, Bird of the East. It's about the issue of materiality and the promise of joy and happiness through material objects. I mean, if you think about it, the East had way more wealth way before the West. We had extraordinary technologies in terms of fabrics, architecture. It was when it's like the game Civilization. When you come in contact with another civilization, suddenly you get this explosion of technology. The West learned the gunpowder from the Chinese, who used it for fireworks. It was turned into a source of brutality and violence when it met the West. And so that is, yes, guns is an example of Western productivity. Nuclear weapons is another example of a product of science.
Society was pretty shitty back then.
No, it wasn't. This is what, if you read this,
if the stars are named Arabic names, it's because the Arabs at one time were the ones that did all the exploration. They were the stargazers. They named the planet.
Listen, I'm not, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to make this, I'm not going to fall into the trap that you've fallen into of making this a war between the West and the East. I'm just gonna make one simple point, that the East had a lot of wealth, and the consequences were exactly what the consequences are now.
But it was more concentrated than the history of the world.
The oldest universities that were created were in India. In fact, there are a lot of travelers that have recorded that the greatest amount of rights for women existed in India around the 14th century.
I'm saying I'm saying that if you go look at India and China,
right,
700-800 years ago, there was a far greater concentration of wealth than this world has ever known.
This is not true.
Of course it's true.
How can you give me facts for that? Where do you get your, who's your source for that?
You think there was a middle class in China?
Of course there was a middle. Do you know have you heard of the Confucianist system of the Confucianist philosophy behind the Chinese government, where he created a system which I think the West actually learned from, where you were able to get entrance into high government positions simply by taking an exam, and education was available to everybody. And this technique was used to make sure that a lot of different people from across.
Education wasn't available to everybody.
Are you kidding me?
Of course it's not.
It depends on how you define education.
The vast majority of all Chinese people live in the fields.
Can you tell me where you're getting your information from?
This is all factual.
I'm a master's student at Columbia University at the Middle Eastern, South Asian, African Studies Department, and none of what you're saying actually is anything.
So you think that the majority of people in China, let's say 600 years ago.
So 600 years ago, let's get clear. We're talking about the 1400s. It's not about the majority. If you ask, are the majority?
It is about the majority.
Listen. If you ask about this kind of a question, we have to ask it in context. Has the majority of lives of anyone in any point of time in any civilization ever been acceptable? Have we as human beings?
Absolutely.
No.
It's continuously improved over the last 1,000 years. Here in this country.
Are you kidding me?
You're telling me the majority of people in this country have it bad?
I'm telling you, I saw somebody holding a sign. I saw somebody holding a sign about how the bottom 20% of people in this country own 7% of the wealth. I've gone to you talk to see. If I talk to you, you're obviously obviously accept a lot of the ideas and the information you're given, and you're probably not questioning them as much. But if you go to somebody, I'm from India. I've lived here my entire life. I have a sense of identity. I don't see things in terms of the West and the East. I think that's old, redundant.
I don't see it as West and East.
I'm just saying that I don't think we've ever been able to succeed in creating a system that looks after. I'll give you one thing.
Let me ask you a question. Do you believe in a capitalist society?
I'm not going to get into those terms anymore, because if you actually study different texts about capitalism, we're not going to, if I say yes, I believe in, I can say yes, I believe in a certain type of capitalism, and I can say no, I don't believe in another type of capitalism. So I'm not going to make a blanket statement.
Do you believe in any type of capitalist system?
I believe that trading is good. I believe that societies that are run on commerce is very good. I believe meritocracy, when it actually works, without racism, without prejudice, is fantastic. I think that Gandhi said something actually extraordinary. He said that you should carry with you whenever you make put in place any legislation. You should carry with you a talisman and wonder about what the effect of that legislation would be on the weakest man. I think that's a wonderful idea, and I think all of us need to start focusing on creating systems that help the weakest man. The only thing I will say is that one reason that I love what's going on here, and I'll totally support it, but I think that the time that it's happening is because the economy has affected the mainstream population. Minorities have suffered in this country for like ages, and they're just barely scraping out of all the different types.
You agree in free trade?
What? Of course I agree in free trade.
Do you know what? They don't agree in free trade here.
I'm originally from... No, that's not true. You're making blanket statements.
In their list.
Listen, can I just say something?
No, you're saying it's not true. It's in their list of demands. They do not want free trade. You understand? It's in their list. The GA here has a list of demands. It includes no free trade,
First of all, there's no demands. Nobody has a list of demands. I don't know what you're talking about. You're totally wrong.
You don't know. I'm sorry.
It's a tentative
with all due
list
respect,
of demands.
with all due respect, you're wrong. This organization is a website. It's a list of demands.
What do you mean when this organization? What are you talking
It's
about?
called OccupyWallStreet.org.
What?
And is that affiliated with the original movement? Because I
That's the Adbusters. It's the Adbusters one. Yeah. Okay. Well, we have many websites.
But the GA passed that.
No, the GA did not pass that. The GA has not passed the list of demands. And that's because guys like you will then pigeonhole us. That was because you will quantify us and try to marginalize.
Listen, if it's not, it's not.
First of all, demands put thing in your basket. If we demand something, it's not a request. It's a list of grievances. It's points. There's 1,000 people.
But it's anti-free trade.
Can I just finish the point that I was making? Can I just finish the point that I was making?
Are you really bringing up
You interrupted me. You interrupted me. Firstly, in relation to free trade, I mean, I
don't know, but I'm gonna put this whole thing on so you can't edit anything out.
I just want to say one thing. Let me just say my last point. I just have one point to leave you all in peace. I'm here. I'm curious. I don't really know what's happening. I like any time that people assert themselves over systems that are not fair for everybody. But I just want to make one point that I'm really happy that people are getting up and revolting when the economy has hit the middle class and the mainstream. But I wish that people had done exactly this when the minorities were suffering. And I hope that once the economy gets back in place for like mainstream America, and I don't like to use this word, but like when the white middle class man, gets all his jobs back, I hope that they'll still keep fighting for all the people who are still suffering. So, thank you.